I brought up the subject of what's going to happen after we take over the government. We become responsible then for administrating, 250 million people. And there was no answers. No one had given any thought to economic.
So for those who don't know, the younger crowd perhaps watching that doesn't know, the Weather Underground was an underground communist, like a far leftist terrorist organization in the 70s, I believe. I don't know the exact dates, but it was in the 70s, and it was very notorious, very powerful. And they did terrorist attacks, bombings, so on. And he infiltrated it. So I've been meaning to make a reaction to this for a very long time, and I stumbled across it a few months ago. I thought, oh, that video, I've got to make a reaction. So, yeah, what he says is chilling.
How are you going to clothe and feed these people? The only thing that I could get was that they expected that the Cubans and the North Vietnamese and the Chinese and the Russians would all want to occupy different portions of the United States. They also believed that their immediate responsibility would be to protect against what they called the counter-revolution. And they felt that this counter-revolution could best be guarded against by creating and establishing re-education centers in the Southwest, where we would take all the people who needed to be re-educated into the new way of thinking and teach them how things were going to be. I ask, well, what is going to happen to those people that we can't re-educate, that are die-hard capitalists? And the reply was that they'd have to be eliminated. And when I pursued this further, they estimated that they would have to eliminate 25 million people in these re-education centers.
He's literally talking about mass murder, genocide. You understand that, right? They literally, this was their policy. They believed this. This is a real guy. This is true. He infiltrated the group as an insider. That's what they told him. So this is what they believed, and that's what they still believe, these types of far leftist groups. So if they ever gain any significant amount of power, this is what they're going to do. They will do this.
And when I say eliminate, I mean kill 25 million people. I want you to imagine sitting in a room with 25 people, most of which have graduate degrees from Columbia and other well-known educational centers. And here,
it's extraordinary that instead of it being the exception, the rule is that almost all of them, the vast majority of these types, are actually highly educated. That's like the paradox of all time for me, but it's the truth.
Them figuring out the logistics for the elimination of 25 million people, and they were dead serious.
It's astounding. Yeah, so this is basically what we are up against. The communists are always going to, the typical, it's become a trope now, it's become a meme, when they say, oh, but they didn't do it right. If it hasn't been implemented correctly yet, we're gonna do it right the next time, because the Stalin version was not right or whatever. Mao didn't do it right, Stalin didn't do it right, Pol Pot didn't do it right, all of them didn't do it right, except this guy. The guy that's saying they didn't do it right, he thinks him and his little group are gonna do it right. Okay. Similarly, these people, the Weather Underground, that this very nice man had infiltrated, because to do such a thing, to undertake such a courageous mission, you have to be a very nice man to do that, to be so virulently anti-communist and go to the point of risking your own life to infiltrate such a heinous, demonic group of people. But he did it, so congrats to him. He went there in the 70s and he saw them saying the exact same things that the Bolsheviks were saying in 50 years or 60 years prior to that in Russia, all right? And then in China, when communism took hold there with Mao's revolution, okay? It's always the same. It's the same playbook. This is because drum roll, it's in the ideology. It's an intrinsic part of the ideology. It's not like like on the sidelines, sort of like an afterthought, or like maybe a few fanatics might think that, and blah blah blah, whatever gaslighting they try to use on us to say that no, it's not really part of it, these people were psychopaths, the Stalins of the world. Okay, well, show me one who wasn't. Every single time wherever it's been implemented, I mean, maybe not in every single case, they didn't do mass killings in every single case, to the extent that it was in China or Russia, but nevertheless, at the very, very least, it always ends up in starvation, okay? Because the thing is that the ideology is fundamentally does not work, because the whole premise of it, like right from the get-go, is that it's anti-objective reality, anti-hierarchy. So it's basically anti-natural law, which means it's anti-God. It's like a satanic. That's why I always call it satanic. People think that that's a religious thing. I'm not religious. Although I believe in God, I'm not religious, like a blue-pilled religious type of person. I'm not. But the term satanic is absolutely apt for this, because it's anti-reality. It's literally anti-reality. I mean, if some ideology is telling you with a straight face, check this out, please don't laugh, and please be sitting down when you hear this, or don't laugh. I mean, try not to laugh. Literally telling you that there's no differences between anything at all, like all people are exactly the same, like no difference between Tesla or Mozart, or a Tesla or a Mozart, compared to some career criminal loser who didn't even finish high school, and he's been in jail more of his life than not. You're telling me those people are the same on the competence hierarchy? Okay, so but communism is trying to say that there's no difference between those people. So it's like the lion and the sheep are exactly the same. So that's like fundamentally anti-reality. So what happens is that because most people, although most people are muggles, roughly following the Pareto principle, which is my favorite breakdown of all time, the 80-20 thing, 80-20 rule, the most glorious thing ever that exists in nature. So it works on anything. Like, if you really trust me on it, this is a side note that's sort of like a tangent to the topic of this video. Trust me, look into the 80-20 breakdown. It applies practically to everything in life. It's similar. It's almost like pi or Fibonacci. It's like you find it everywhere, like in the most unlikely, in the most mundane, and in the most up to the most metaphysical matters of the universe. The Pareto principle is there. So also in intelligence and IQ, it seems to apply. It's like roughly 20% of people, the top 20%, are the ones we can call intelligent. The top of that, which would be the 5% of the pyramid, would be the really smart people. But like roughly 20%, there's the 5% really smart, and then there's 15% underneath them, the slightly, less and less smart. But that rough 20% are the smart people. And when I say smart, my definition of that is like people who can think independently and don't need to follow authority, and they can draw their own conclusions through their own research and their own experiences, and they don't need to listen, they don't need to follow an authority figure. Okay, so that's roughly 20%. So 80% various levels, varying levels of stupidity. You know, the bottom 10 or 20% of that would be the absolute worst muggles imaginable. So that bottom 80% is always the people that fall for these ideologies, and the lower you are in that 80%, like the bottom 50% of humanity, let's say, would be the people that in the past several years we've been calling, the internet has been calling them NPCs, which is based, for those who don't really know what that means, they keep hearing it, but they're like, why do people keep saying that term? It's an acronym for non-player character. Non-player character, NPC, and it's exclusively, it's a video game term.
Is over. An ancient evil rises, and the battle for humanity's soul has just begun.
Like literally computer programmers that make video games, that design video games, they call the characters in the game, like there's the heroes and the villains in the game that you can choose. You can choose to play as any number of characters, and then you go against certain bad guys and the final boss at the end of the level or whatever. The non-player character would be like the background people that are all the same, that they don't really have differing characteristics. It's like the, I don't know, when it's like a zombie thing that you're fighting a bunch of zombies, it's like it would be the generic zombie where there's like thousands of them and they're all the same. They have no nuance, all of them, no one's different to the other. So that's where we got the term NPC from. And these people that are like the bottom 50% of the intelligence pyramid of humanity, they are the straight NPCs. They're like they are literally how I described the NPC from where the term originally came from, the non-player character in the computer games. If you picture this world as a real life, like very realistic 3D simulation / computer game, like the Matrix movie with Keanu Reeves, the NPCs would be the people we refer to as NPCs would be the equivalent of the actual NPCs that the term originally come from the video game world. I'm not a video game guy, but I have looked into the meaning of the NPC word. That's why I know about it. But it really is like that. So these are the people that fall for bullshit ideologies like these. They fall for feminism and extreme leftism and far leftism and stuff. And communism is like, all this other stuff, like feminism and so on. They're just branches on the tree of communism, right? So all of it is the communist, this Marxist oppressed dynamic that they use, that lie of lies. That's like the great lie, capital G, capital L, the great lie. Is the oppressed dynamic. They use it everywhere. They use it to get women to hate men. They use it for minorities to hate straight white people. So basically, because what I was getting at earlier, that's how I ended up here, was that because there is that 50% of NPCs that will listen to anything, that will believe anything, they will just follow, okay, whatever it is. Like some leader comes out and says this and that is real, like Mao in China, they're going to say, oh, okay, if he says it, then. But then there's going to be that, okay, so you've got the pyramid of humanity. The top 20% are the people that the leaders, that they don't need to listen to anyone. They just do their own research and studying and experiential learning through life experience, and they're like, well, this is my reality, this is how I've seen it to be, and I'm not going to listen to your bullshit because I have seen otherwise. So fuck you. The bottom 80%, the 80% underneath that, there's varying degrees of stupidity, and you get dumber and dumber as you go down to the bottom 20%, let's say. But the bottom 50%, roughly speaking, is the one that's NPC-ish, and the lower you get, like the more dense the NPC-ness becomes, and but so that 50% will just follow along with anything. But then there's the level that's between the top levels of that bottom 50% and the 20%. So there's that 30% between the truly smart people, the leaders that make up their own minds, that create their own, people that, like, instead of joining a cult, would create their own organization or religion or group or something, club or anything, or order, magical order, or political party or something, or instead of copying somebody's work, they'll create their own original novel, or band or style of music that everyone else will then copy. Okay, so that's the top 20%. It's like pioneers in all different ways. They're pioneering, the people up there. But you have the ones that are like I said, between the 50. So it's like 0 down here, 50, 100. So you got the 50, which are the complete dumbasses, and you get dumb as you go lower, like down here, like people like with 80 IQ and stuff. So this is like between 100 and 80 IQ basically, right? And then from 50 to 80, you have that 30% that's like, they're not, when they start going beneath the 20%, like the top 20% of the pyramid, they start slowly losing independent thinking and agency, and they more and more, the lower you get, the more you approach that 50% mark. It's just innately you have this need to look to authority. You want to ask, like, oh, what would so and so say? What would Jordan Peterson say? What would that guy say? What would it's like, why would you just make your own thing? Write your own book, make your own theory. Why do you have to follow, what would Freud say? What would how would I'm talking about music now because I play guitar as well. So how would Jimmy Page do it? Who gives a shit? He was the best ever. Okay, best rock band, but do your own thing. He did his thing. He never sat and thought, oh, that's how he became Jimmy Page. But I mean, you can't just make someone. You can't just by me just saying that to someone. It's not going to magically transform their DNA and make them into a top 20%er. If you are not born in that level, you're just not going to be. No matter what, you can do all the self-help books and courses and whatever you want to do, because then there's going to be people that are already born into that level that are also going to do those courses, and those courses and self-help techniques and stuff are going to help you raise up a bit. But then the people that were already there, like just born naturally based, let's say, natural leaders, natural geniuses, they are also, a percentage of them are also going to do those same courses or similar, and they're going to raise up even more. So then you're going to raise, but then so are they. So it's just all it's going to be is that. So then the gap is still going to be the same. So no matter what you do, no matter how much information is out there, no matter how much self-help stuff, no matter how much upwardly mobile, opportunities we have in a place, like America, these really meritocratic places where everyone can become whatever they want, always, it's going to end up being roughly about 20% of the people at the top and 80%. You know what I mean? That whole 20% of people own 80% of the wealth, and the rest of the 80% own the 20% of the wealth. That's not like some capitalist conspiracy. It's what I described. It's the Pareto principle. I know people usually use it with the top 1% own 99% of the wealth, and the 99% own the reverse. But it's the same. It's like I'm breaking it down on an 80-20 basis in this video instead of 1% versus 99. But yeah, at the top 1% level of that 20% pyramid, that is true, because the top 1% compared to the 20, because 1 out of 20, it's like it's 5%. Okay, 1 is 5% of 20, so they would be the top 5%. The 1% is the top 5% of the top 20%, you know. So it's just like a fractal. It just keeps getting smaller and smaller. Like as the higher you go up in the pyramid, the more resources and power and control and influence they have over the rest of the world. But like that's just the pyramidal nature of the 3D universe. It's not like some reptilian conspiracy that David Icke says. I mean that is real, but it's not like that. Everything and anything that's pyramidal and hierarchical is magically evil now. Suddenly, that's a bullshit leftist theory. Okay, so people that have had like leftist upbringings, they erroneously teach that to the world, and you should not take that at face value. It's not real, because pyramidal life is God is a pyramid. God is meritocracy. God is a meritocracy guy. Otherwise, he would have created us, the whole universe would have just been one blob that everything's the same. There has to be differences, all right? And so for differences to exist, some people got to be winners, some have got to be losers, because you can't get a value hierarchy if there's no differences. It's like, how can you tell between the difference between Led Zeppelin and some shit pub band that plays at the local pub that's nobody's heard of and nobody's going to hear of ever because they're not good enough? How would you be able to tell the difference between which one's better if there were no differences between them? Okay, there would not have been like a value, a nothing. There would not have been a hierarchy with which to compare the quality of the two. So that being the case, it means that someone like Jimmy Page is going to have stupid amounts of success and money and fame. And that that no-name pub band that I mentioned, that hypothetical one, is going to have none of that. Okay, and the left, the people that are like at the lower 50%, because they are not good enough to get up to that level, and also they're not smart enough to understand that the reason they haven't gotten there is because of their abilities and not because of some capitalist conspiracy. They will never understand this. And these are the people that naturally get drawn to the leftist ideologies. So there's always going to be people that are going to be drawn to these ideologies, but because that mid-level intellect of the people that are like between the 50% and the 80%, like let's say it's like 10 levels. So the people that the intellect is like between 5 and 8 out of a 1 to 10 scale, they would be like the average IQ, like 110 to 130. They think they're smart because they got like a little bit more IQ than an ape, and it's like, oh, I'm smart because I went to college or something. But then you find that those are the types that are the intellectual leftists. Okay, he was mentioning in the video that it was like all these people that had gone to these Ivy League colleges and stuff, and then they're sitting there trying to figure out the logistics of how we're going to kill 30 million people. He couldn't believe his ears. It's like, what? These are people that have been to like Harvard and stuff like that. But this is a reality of it. So there's only like that top 20% that won't fall for it. The people that have got even more, that have got like 130 IQ to 150 and beyond. That's where you break the matrix. So you break out of the academic matrix and all that stuff, and you realize it's like, oh, these people are not really smart at all. They're kind of like semi-intelligent, like mid-wits, and they're beholden. They've fallen victim to the Dunning-Kruger effect, which, for those few who might not know what that means, is like it means like when you learn a new skill and you're only average at it, and you're like fairly new, like intermediate. You don't know what you don't know. Like you don't know enough yet. You're not at a level 8 or 9, like at a professional level of understanding, to know that you don't know enough yet. Like, so you reach a level 4 out of 10 and you think you're at 10. Because if you were at 10, truly, you would realize, you say, oh shit, I was just at 4. What the hell? Why was I so arrogant 5 years ago? But like when you're still sort of half new to something, a lot of the times we fall to the Dunning-Kruger effect. We fall victim to it, and we think we know it all. It's kind of like the equivalent of the teenager who thinks they know everything, and then they get 25 or 30 and they start agreeing with their father suddenly and saying, oh man, he was right 90% of the time. I was an idiot. But when you're in it, you don't realize what a douche you're being. So this is where they're at, those 110, 130 IQ people that think they're smart because I went to Harvard or something. I read some books and I regurgitated some stuff and then I answered a test. I haven't gotten a degree. I went to university, but I dropped out. A lot of people use that as a criticism and say, you're saying it because you're secretly jealous of the people that got degree. No, I could have gone back. I didn't want to go back. So a lot of people deliberately do not want to go to university. They go, they see what insanity it is, and they're like, I don't want to become part of this mind matrix. And I was out. I wanted to be free of the education matrix. A lot of people are like that nowadays, but I did it years ago. But yeah, this is why I criticize academia so much, because I've seen it from the inside. I almost became an atheist. I did engineering, electrical engineering. I almost became an atheist, and I became so spiritual after that. But then, like for a couple of years, I was almost atheist because all we're doing is talking about 1010 computers. So there are always going to be there's always going to be a percentage of people, is what I'm getting at. This is a long explanation, but I think it's necessary. A big percentage of people, not massive, but a percentage, maybe 10-20% or something, that are gonna resist. I mean, maybe even the lower IQ people might, the bottom 50% might think, okay, this doesn't make sense to me. They might not be that smart, but they might have a tendency to just follow whatever the authorities at the time, at any given moment, are saying on the TV, or in academia. But because communism, especially, feminism can kind of trick you because it's like, these poor women, give them equal rights so they can vote us into, the fall of Rome 2.0. But like with Marxism, with feminism, with communism, it's like even the dumbest person can kind of like, you can sort of feel it instinctively. It's like, wait, what? Even I'm a dumbass. I'm an uneducated peasant or whatever. But even I can tell that 7-foot gigantic basketball player that weighs 200 kilos is not identical to that guy that's like 5'5", and like what do you mean everyone's the same? So like it's so easy to understand, to see the holes in the ideology. So this is why always there are going to be people that resist to it. And that's why this ideology absolutely needs to have killing its own people as part of it. Like it's an intrinsic part of, like, they have to, like, they end up, because whenever such a government is implemented anywhere, it's never going to work. So then, to keep the lie going, the tyrannical communist leader, what he does is, like, when people start saying, hey, you promised this and then this happened, it's like the complete opposite. You were saying prosperity and everything, and people are just starving, there's no crops, there's no food because you killed all the farmers, they eliminate all the productive. They're so fucking retarded. The first thing they do is they eliminate the most productive people, because they believe erroneously that in this whole oppressor-oppressed dynamics, it's like, okay, let's get rid of all the people that we need, all the people that upon whose backs the entire society rests. Just get rid of them. Sure, that's going to be really good for us. That's like me in my most sarcastic moment today. So of course the complete opposite happens and everything crumbles, because it's like these people that were like holding that society up, like Atlas. Like the myth of Atlas is holding up the guy that's holding up the world in that ancient Greek myth. They kill immediately that's who they eliminate. So then the whole system, there's no geniuses, there's no organizational geniuses, there's nothing. There's no quality people left anymore in that particular country to run it. All right. So then it all crumbles and everyone starts starving and stuff, and then they're like, what the hell happened? We thought we were going to have this utopian paradise, but then it's getting worse and worse, and people start complaining, and then the only recourse, the only thing that the communist tyrant knows how to do is to start killing the people that point out the obvious truth that this system is satanic, because it's like a satanic inversion of reality, of objective reality, of the way reality, like the world out there, get out of your house, walk outside the door, go into the real world and see how it works. Well, communism is going to tell you the absolute opposite of how it works. So imagine implementing that into government policies and running a country according to rules that are against natural law. So it's anti-natural law, it's anti-life. So always, like I said at the start, it's going to at the very least end up, if it's like it in its most benevolent case, most benevolent scenario, it's just going to be people starving in the end, like Venezuela. Worst case scenario, they start killing, of course, immediately they start getting rid of the intellectuals, which is a bad move, because your country is propped up by these people, like I said. Because if you eliminate the best people in a society, immediately the quality of your society is going to drop. So and it's no wonder that 10 years later everything starts crumbling, and they're like, oh, what happened? Oh, what went wrong? I thought we had the perfect system. All we did was eliminate the most productive, smartest people. Gee, I can't understand why everything crumbled all of a sudden. And then we thought that literally everyone is equal. The greatest heart surgeon in our country, and some random peasant that's been in jail most of his life than not. I thought they were both equal and they should get the same pay. Gee, I wonder why our society crumbled, like in Russia, where the whole thing just imploded, just out of nowhere. Like no one was expecting it, it just imploded. Because it's unworkable. But in the meantime, until it eventually implodes, when people start waking up to it, or in the early beginnings when people resist, like he was saying in this video, and they're like, we have to put them in the camps to re-educate them. Well, a lot of them won't get re-educated, because it's like putting me in a camp, putting you in a camp and trying to say, listen, you've been here for 6 months, for the 100th time, are you going to recant and say the sky's not blue? We'll tell you for the last time, otherwise you're going to get, we're going to gas you. It's like they're trying to, what is this re-education? To de-reality someone, remove them from objective reality. What do you mean re-education? Re-educate you into what? To some ideology that's based on unreality? So that's why a lot of people resist. So you never have that in the right wing. The right wing dictatorships, when it goes far right, when it becomes a fascist government, there is some of that where they take people away and stuff, but it's not people that have to be re-educated. It's not people that have to be re-educated into reality. It's people that can't accept reality. So it's like what the right wing people do is like they round up the communists and try to say, look, in our case we have the actual truth. We're trying to tell you that your communist ideology is anti-reality, like I've been saying for half an hour now in this video. It's like, just get with the program. Hierarchy is real and so on. But the leftist types, they don't want to accept that, and the right-wing governments, like they did, like the Greek junta did here in Greece in the early 70s. They very rightly were taking the communists, and they sent them to this like barren island. I don't remember what it's called, Macronissos, I think. It's just this island where they all sent them there, this island in the middle of nowhere, just to isolate them from society. It's like removing a cancer, right? So it's the right thing to do. And they didn't kill them. I mean, they can get violent and stuff and pretty rough, the right wing dictatorships, but the left wing, the far left, it's outright murderous, just outright murderous. Like this does, like it does. They don't even flinch. They're like, "Yep, we got to re-educate them, and if they don't change, just eliminate." The right wing is very difficult for them to reach that point. They're not going to say, "Well, okay, good. If they don't change, just take them out." It's not. It doesn't. There's not such a quick slippery slope with the right, but with the left, the far left, the communist thing, it's written in the ideology itself, so it's much easier for it to take a slippery slope effect as opposed to the right wing. Because the right wing is, like I said, I'm kind of repeating myself, but I'll say it one more time. What they do is, like, because I'm using the example of the military dictatorship that was here in Greece for about 5 years, from like 60, I think it was 68 to 74, something like that. People many years later now, I hear a lot of people talking and saying, hey, they were the best times, most prosperous times in Greece. Don't listen to the subsequent communist propaganda that came out against it later. Like during the military dictatorship, things were fine. If you were a law-abiding citizen, no one bothered you. You could work, you can have a business. There was nothing that you were not allowed to do. So I don't understand. Anyway, so what they did was basically they were rounding up communists, like first of all kicking them out of influential positions, when they had like important jobs and so on. They were kicking them out, of course, because if someone who does not does not understand how reality works, they should not have an important position. They shouldn't have any position at all. They should be deemed mentally ill and put on like on a disability pension. You can't work if you don't understand that hierarchy is real and men and women are different and things like that. And a 7-foot person is not the same as a 5-foot person. How can you shouldn't even be a street sweeper, let alone be in government positions and teaching, especially teaching. Oh my God, these people, it should literally be illegal for anyone holding these views to have a teaching position in any country in the world. So that's all they did. That's a good thing, good and wholesome thing. And the ones that didn't want to understand reality, they're like, okay, we're going to take you to that island. But they didn't put hundreds of thousands and millions of people in camps, and then if they don't change their mind, we're going to eliminate them. But these leftists, these assholes here in the weather underground, that's what they believe, that they literally told them that. Okay. Like I said, these are educated people, and it's astounding, and they present themselves as, oh, we are smart and we're intellectuals, and we're brainier and more intellectual than these brutes, these right-wing brutes. Okay, let me tell you about some famous right-wing people. Jordan Peterson, 150 IQ or more. What's his name? James Wood or Woods? I keep forgetting his name. James Woods, 160 IQ. He got top score SAT in high school. I don't know. Did he go to Harvard, or he got some kind of scholarship? He got all these offers, these amazing Ivy League schools. I don't know if he went. I don't know if he finished, but I think he went. At least he got the offers. I don't know what he did. Maybe he quit to pursue acting, but he got insanely high SAT. So this is like a 160 IQ level there. Kelsey Grammer, who's very well known for being a brainy intellectual type. Again, he's a very well-known right-wing person in Hollywood. So that's just 3 famous people that are above the 130 level, which is average to me, if you ask me. Which that's where like these champagne socialists, they're kind of like between the 110 and 130 IQ level, which is average. We're really talking when we're going 140 and above. Okay, that's the real intelligence. Anything below that, it's like, you're just like a semi-smart person, and you're probably suffering from Dunning-Kruger effect most of the time. All right, so this is why they think they know everything. Like, I have a childhood friend from Melbourne, because very unfortunately, born in Melbourne, Australia. So I've lived half my life there and half in Greece. Greece is the other greatest country on earth, aside from the US. So Australia, complete opposite, nothing to do with the US, worst country ever. So anyway, I was born in Melbourne. So this childhood friend, he's like this Greek, Australian person, very rich family and so on. He's a high-powered lawyer. He went to a very good university there, became a lawyer. He was always a good student. He visited a few years ago here. He visited me here in Greece, and he was saying, he was saying he's right wing and is a Trump fan, but then he said to me, communism is actually the best system and it's never been implemented before. I said, what? But you're right wing. You were telling me you like Trump and his tweets are funny. Yeah, he said, yeah, but really, communism is actually the best. So I'm like, why aren't you a communist? Well, he said, in theory it's the best. So, and this guy was going on and on about how theoretically it's the best system. So this is what happens. This is because, see, I didn't go through the whole academic ringer. I went to university and I quit soon afterwards. I'm like, I'm not putting my brain through this thing. And but then when you get through the entire academic ringer, like when you stay in university for 4, 5, 6 years, and then the rest of your professional life, 30 years on top of that, is like all you're doing is like associating with people from that very closed-minded environment, because all your colleagues are going to be people that have got degrees and stuff wherever whatever you work in, whether you're an engineer or a doctor or whatever. So they're all the same, and you keep hanging out with the same mindsets, so you can never really expand out of that little bubble. So they all have the same stupid fucking views. Among these views on the political front is this belief that they think communism, in theory, is the best system. Not all of them, but a lot of them. That's where you get the champagne socialist, and that's like mid-level IQ. Like I said, they're not. If they had more than 130, approaching 140, and then going on upwards after that, they would be the James Woodses of the world, the Jordan Petersons. They'll be saying, what are you talking about? This is insane. Don't you understand? Hierarchy is real. Yeah. So anyway, I can keep going on forever, but this is the phenomenon, and this is the difference between why these people are hell-bent on mass genocide. Like immediately, they don't. It's almost as if they're so trigger happy that probably a lot of them don't even think like that thing that they say, re-education camps, just to give them a chance first to change their minds. That's probably just something they say so they don't shock people completely. But deep down, most of them probably, the first thing that comes to their mind is like, kill them, eliminate them completely. If they had their way, a lot of these types, they will probably opt for, just straight annihilation. Don't even give them a chance to change their minds, because we know that they won't, these capitalist pigs, so just kill them straight away. So, because they believe, this is why also they don't debate, like this whole running meme that we've been talking about in the podcast scene for a long time now, ever since Trump 1.0. It's like everyone's been saying on the right that leftists just don't debate. Like, people from the right wing podcast scene, they routinely invite people from the other side on the podcast to debate in a civilized, calm way, non bullying way, but almost always they refuse. So because they like that, they think that the other side is like, they think that the right wing is like that as well. So they're like, well, these people are never going to change their mind, so just might as well eliminate them. So this is the far left in a nutshell, and it's the biggest. It's the world's foremost problem, if you know what I'm saying. Okay, so we need to just. I should be doing more work, but I mean, I've been so busy finishing my books and all these other projects, but I would love to be doing this much more and creating awareness on it. So I'm doing my part, but people need to get out there and speak out more about this, because humanity has a great tendency to fall into apathy, okay, to become ossified, okay, to stagnate. That's a good word. That's the word I was looking for. And we don't want to get we don't want to stagnate. We don't want to get stuck, okay, in this thing of apathy and, oh my God, being black-pilled, and oh, look at what the top 1% own everything and the bottom 99% don't have anything, and oh my God, and I'm so black-pilled and maybe I should become a communist to burn everything down. There is a human tendency to get dragged downward, okay, to go in a downward spiral, unless there is an outside force, which is to say great men and some women, but mostly men in that top 20% that I said before, do superhuman efforts, make a superhuman effort to raise up the bottom 80%, much of whom are black-pilled, especially this day and age. So those of us who can and who have got the skill and the resources and the time and energy should make efforts to wake people up in this regard, and I'm doing my own part here. Like I said, I'm not doing it enough, but I should from now on. Yeah, so I hope you learned something and enjoyed this. Please subscribe and pass it along to a friend if you benefited from it. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.